Homework 1.9 is a function composition review from pre-calculus. It should be one of our easiest homeworks of the year. It says for h, find two functions f and g such that h of x is f of g of x. So we're trying to take h of x and split it up into two functions, one of which is inside of the other. And there's more than one way to do this, but I'm going to pick what to me seems like the most logical way to do it. And I'll help you on a couple of them. Let's do C. On C, h of x, we're supposed to put it as f of g of x. And so what I see here is this is an exponential. 2 to the something power. And that something power is a function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite it as f of x is 2 to the x power. G of x is that x that goes inside of the power. So g of x is 6x plus 7, and that way when h of x is f of g of x, what this means is g of x gets plugged in for x inside of f of x. So 6x plus 7 is getting plugged in for x inside of 2 to the x. And so h of x is f of g of x means that h of x will be 2 to the power of 6x plus 7, because 6x plus 7 gets plugged in for x. Here, it asks us to find f of g of x and g of f of x. F of g of x tells us to take g of x, plug it into x in f. G of f of x tells us to take f of x, plug it into x in g. So f of g of x is going to equal f of x, but with g of x plugged in for x. That's what f of g of x is. So it's 1 minus 2x plus 5 squared. And we can simplify this. This is 1 minus 4x squared. We square the first one, multiply them together and double it, square the last one. And so we get f of g of x equals, this is for a, f of g of x is negative 4x squared minus 20x, and then 1 minus 25 is negative 24. So this is f of g of x. G of f of x tells us to take f of x and plug it into x here, inside of g. So 1 minus x squared goes in for x. That's what g of f of x is telling us. So g of f of x is going to be 2, instead of 2x plus 5, it's 2 times f of x plus 5. So 2 times 1 minus x squared plus 5. That's 2 f of x plus 5. And this can also be simplified. We get negative 2x squared plus 7. So that's g of f of x and f of g of x. They come out quite different from each other. Hopefully that helps.